Did you know back in 2015, The Time did an article on the late great president of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, discussing how the concept of Amiibo was born. In late 2013, Satoru Iwata sat alone on a bullet train heading towards Tokyo. As the carriage sped silently down the track, Iwata, the puckish CEO of Nintendo, began sketching out an idea. A line of physical toys with built-in chips that connect wirelessly to the company's varied game systems. The word Amiibo was carefully crafted with the idea of using these figures with your friends. The ami part of the word is Japanese and refers to the feeling of having friends or playing with friends. This was Iwata's initial intent for Amiibo, and that sentiment was later reflected in the first line of Amiibo for the Super Smash Bros. Series, but more on that later in the video. Nintendo was one of the last companies to join the Toys to Life craze in the mid-2010s, but that certainly did not stop them from experiencing the most long-term success of the bunch. Activision's Skylanders and Disney Infinity were the first ones on the scene, and while both were incredibly successful for a time, the novelty of buying a cool figure or a Disney character that you knew, placing it on a portal, and being able to play as that character in the game was second to none. However, both franchises met an untimely demise within their first years of conception, effectively falling off a cliff. Even the LEGO company tried to join the frenzy with LEGO Dimensions in 2015, but to no avail. Consumers grew tired of buying all these figures and new games to coincide with them. Nintendo's Amiibo, however, are only about 6 months away from being a decade old, and Nintendo still releases the figures fairly frequently. Nintendo's first line of Amiibo released on November 21st, 2014, coinciding with the Super Smash Bros. Game for the Wii U. This line consisted of 12 figures: Mario, Peach, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Link, Fox, Samus, the Wii Fit Trainer, Villager, Pikachu, Kirby, and Marth, with the entirety of the Smash roster promised to be on the way. In the most unthinkable Nintendo move ever, the company decided to buck the trend of the whole Toys to Life concept. Buying these figures would not allow you to play as them in-game. Instead, you would be able to play with your Amiibo by fighting it in-game and training it to be as powerful as possible. But as it turns out, Amiibo actually succeeded long after the other Toys to Life products due to the very fact that they were not playable figures. More on that later. The line of Smash Bros. Figures was marketed with the vision Iwata had on the train in mind. You fight your Amiibo figure to make it stronger, take it to your friend's house, and challenge their Amiibo with your own, or you could make it a 4-on-4. Quite a fun concept that heavily mirrors trading cards, except in-game, and Nintendo already knew how successful those could be from Pokemon cards alone. However, Nintendo still realized that the Toys to Life market was dwindling, and that they would have to do something unique to boost the sales of Amiibo. In one of their scummier moves Nintendo could have made, they decided to create an artificial scarcity for their figures. In December of 2014, a Canadian video game retailer known as VGP said that the Marth, Wii Fit Trainer, and Villager Amiibo would be permanently discontinued. IGN then reached out to Nintendo and got this response: "We will aim for certain Amiibo to always be available. These will be our most popular characters like Mario and Link. Due to shelf space constraints, other figures likely will not return to the market once they have sold their initial shipment." This implied heavily that if you did not get to buy a figure as soon as it hit shelves, they would never be coming back or never getting any kind of reprint. It's almost like they were telling their fans, "Oh, we wish we could keep these cool figures you love in stock so bad, but it just isn't possible, so run to the stores and buy them all up while you can, thank you." And on top of this marketing strategy, they decided to make very specific Amiibo exclusive to particular retailers. And I can personally testify, as someone who got sucked into this madness at the time, that there were plenty of shelves available for all of these figures. Sure, nowadays there are only a few racks for Amiibo to hang on, but back in the day, every store with a video game section had whole rows dedicated to Toys to Life products. And when the Skylander and Disney Infinity figures went out of style, the Amiibo could have happily taken their place on the shelf. Did you want the Ness or Duck Hunt figures? Sorry, they're only available at GameStop. Hope they didn't sell out overnight. What, you wanted Rosalina and Dr. Mario? Well, better hope scalpers didn't beat you to Target, because that's the only place you can get them. Oh, and this is the best one yet. They took the standard Mario figure that everyone already had, and guess what they did to make him so valuable and sought after? They painted him gold, and only sold it at Walmart of all places. And the worst part of this? It actually worked. The Amiibo scramble was in full effect. People were literally camping out at stores across the world just to acquire these small pieces of plastic, and I, unashamedly, was right there in the thick of it. Yes, it was a very gross business practice by Nintendo to purposefully make everyone scared to miss out and to encourage scalpers to ruin the fun, but those days were honestly some of the most fun I had ever had as a kid. I vividly remember saving up money through doing random chores around the house and begging my mom to take me to Best Buy or to any local store to find the best and rarest figures I possibly could. Some of my fondest memories come from going to my local Meijer with my grandmother and watching her buy me whatever Amiibo I wanted simply by asking. And on my birthday every year, one of my biggest requests was to be driven from store to store just to buy Amiibo. Heck, I would even go to the video game sections of bookstores and would find some pretty rare figures every now and then. It was truly joyful to be an Amiibo hunter at the ripe age of 10 years old. I have tons of Amiibo, but I still aspire to collect every single Smash Bros. Figure. Maybe one day. But of course, Nintendo didn't just stop with the line of Smash Amiibo. Where's the money in that? They made a line of Mario figures, they made woolly Yoshis, the Legend of Zelda series got a whole bunch of Amiibo, the Splatoon series, Metroid, Kirby, Fire Emblem, and a whole lot more from all across Nintendo's different franchises. They also made it to where you could use your Amiibo in all of their first-party games across the board, not just Super Smash Bros. If you had a Mario figure, it wouldn't matter if it was the Smash Mario, the regular Mario, 8-bit Mario, Cat Mario, or the stupid Golden Mario. All versions of Mario would work across every game you used him in. In Mario Kart 8, you could scan them to get costumes related to that figure for your Mii. And in Mario Party 10, you got to play a dumbed-down version of the classic board game formula rather than the dumb car game. They made all of your Amiibo do unique things no matter what games you owned, rather than restricting them to any one game or any one feature. While this is one of the main reasons Amiibo are still around today, there are some people who complain Amiibo don't do enough to justify the price point. When Amiibo first released, every figure sat at a cool $12.99 in the United States. But after a few years, Nintendo increased the quality of all these figures exponentially, and these things really look amazing now. Just look at the difference between these two Splatoon Amiibo. No, the one on the left isn't out of focus, it just isn't as detailed as the one on the right. They really stepped up their game. And look at this Joker, Emmy, and Ganondorf figure. They're so intricately designed, it's great. But in turn, the baseline price was also increased. Your standard Amiibo nowadays will cost anywhere from $17 to $25 depending on the quality and the retailer you buy it from. It's not nearly as difficult to obtain new Amiibo now as it used to be. Ever since Nintendo won the Toys to Life war, Amiibo are no longer exclusive to any one retailer, nor are we being actively threatened by the company to buy them before they disappear forever. But now we have a new problem. If you don't jump on the pre-orders or get them when they release, you'll have to deal with an increase in that retail price. Amazon is really the only consistent place to buy Amiibo, and pretty much every figure is severely overpriced by a good $10 to $20 each. You can't even buy the very first Mario Amiibo without shelling out $23, which, might I add, is $10 extra from its initial release. Do you want something as simple as a Goomba Amiibo? $60 is the minimum. That's right, instead of buying a full-price Nintendo Switch game like Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey, you have to drop 60 bones on a little brown turd. As frustrating as this is, I would much rather be in a position where the Amiibo are available yet slightly overpriced, rather than literally impossible to acquire for anything short of your own kidney. And on the flip side of those who say the Amiibo don't do enough, those same people will complain when cool features are locked behind the Amiibo. The two Metroid Amiibo that released with the Samus Returns 3DS game in 2017 locked an entire difficulty mode behind it. If you wanted to play on a harder difficulty mode, you were required to buy those Amiibo. The other figure that made a real stink was the Loftwing Amiibo that coincided with the Skyward Sword remaster in 2021. This is one of the best looking figures they have ever made, and that reflects in the $25 price point. Many quality of life features were added in Skyward Sword HD, and one in particular was the ability to fast travel from any of the many statues you would find in the game. However, Nintendo decided that if you wanted to fast travel no matter where you were, you would have to buy the Amiibo. This decision probably came after realizing the price point was more than the average figure, and they wanted to give us more of a reason to buy it. But that's just it. Nintendo is past the point of giving us a reason to buy Amiibo. I alluded earlier in this video to the fact that Nintendo making Amiibo non-playable was the reason that they still exist today. I say that because from the get-go, everyone knew that they wouldn't be buying these figures to use them. Sure, there are probably some people out there who love using the Amiibo in Smash, but that is the minority for sure. Unlike with Skylanders, Disney Infinity, and LEGO Dimensions, people were buying and are still buying Amiibo because of the iconic characters that these figures are. They simply look really cool, and a lot of Nintendo fans want to collect the characters that they grew up with and put them on their shelves. And in the case of the Smash Bros. Line, some of these characters like Cloud or Joker may never be in a Nintendo game ever again. Collecting these Amiibo aren't just for the fun of it, they're a piece of gaming history. Amiibo came out the gate with an advantage. If you buy them, you aren't buying into a fad that you'll regret in a few years. You're buying into the history of a franchise that more than likely has been in your life for decades. Many people say that Amiibo may be finished now that the final character from Smash Bros. Ultimate has been released, and while I don't believe that is the case, if it is, then I am more than happy to have had the privilege of living through its peak. The history of Amiibo is a complicated and controversial one, but at its core is a company that went back to its roots to create a product specifically designed to put smiles on people's faces. A product that brought people together and brought joy to the hearts of millions. So, if this is the end of Amiibo, what better way for it to go out than on its 10th year, with Sora, a Disney character that absolutely no one believed could truly make it into Smash Bros. Due to all the copyright restrictions. But it happened. Sakurai and Nintendo made it happen. What else could we truly ask for? Thank you all so much for watching this video to the very end. It was a blast to make, and I appreciate you so much for sticking to the end. Make sure to like and subscribe, check out all my social media, including my new Patreon. All the links for those are on the channel's description. And hey, I just made a retrospective on Nintendo's 2017, and I covered the Breath of the Wild reports on the Switch successor. If you liked what you saw in this video, make sure to check out either of those by clicking on the screen. And with that, thank you all for watching Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day.